Okay, welcome to another Lit Matters. This time it's Macbeth, the focus of this video, and in particular that of the witches. I'm going to be looking at a number of the key quotations, 5 key quotations of the witches, and trying to show you how to explain some of the language devices, some of the language choices on display by Shakespeare, and also connect them to some of the themes that are of interest to Shakespeare and that he uses to help drive the plot forward, and also crucially to set the tone at the beginning of Macbeth. So here we go then. First up, a starting point. I think we start with this man. Look at him there, a handsome devil in his finery. Not enough blokes wear stuff like that these days. This is James VI of Scotland and the first of England, who has been called the greatest scholar who ever sat on the English throne, supposedly one of our more intelligent kings. If ever there's a play written with a particular one person in mind by Shakespeare, it's James I and Macbeth. Shakespeare has enjoyed the favour and grace of Queen Elizabeth, has been a favourite at court, and had his plays performed and had his performance company sort of been patronised and supported, and he's keen to keep that going, so he needs to suck up to the new king. So he gives him the play of his dreams. It's about Scotland, it's about threats to your power, your crown, and it's about the supernatural, which was very much his favourite subject, so much so in fact that he even writes this book on it, this pamphlet on it called Demonology, where he studied aspects of the supernatural, trying to ascertain if there's any power to them or not, or any truth. This is what he's trying to do. Shakespeare is, perhaps some critics have argued that it's almost a warning to James. You shouldn't be messing around in this stuff. It doesn't look particularly good. Here's another king that messed around with it. It wasn't a good look. Or perhaps it's just he's trying to play to the gallery and give the key man in the audience what he wants. Either way, there he is, one of our more intelligent kings. Don't know how smart he was really, given that he converted to believing in witches from a position of skepticism. And he's also done that thing that little kids do when they're writing a drawing. That he starts off his writing really big letters and then he runs out of space, and oh no, he's got to start again. His font size too big. Anyway, on we go with some quotations. So the first quotation, bang at the start of the play. When shall we three meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain? Okay, there's a number of things going on here. Principally, most crucially, Shakespeare uses the opening lines of his plays very, very carefully indeed. He chooses them very carefully. And here you have a tone being set by the witches. There's immediate questions straight away from the start, so there's a sense of mystery, a sense of uncertainty, a sense of confusion introduced by those questions, and you have a sense of an unholy trinity. Okay, you've got 3 of them all together, and they always appear together. Half the time they're finishing each other's lines and speaking at the same time. So there's almost these 3 characters in one, and you've very got the 4th line of the play is the word three. They then associate themselves with 3 aspects of the weather, or 3 sort of natural phenomena: the thunder, the lightning, the rain. And so they are a trinity of sorts, but obviously a very unholy one. And there's more attention drawn to this later on in Act 4, Scene 1, when Macbeth is in his hour of need. Who does he go to in his hour of when he's questioning his faith and he needs a bit of salvation and guidance and all the rest of it? He doesn't sort of head to the church and look upstairs. He heads to the witch's kind of cave, and gets inspiration and gets guidance from downstairs, as it were. So Shakespeare's establishing this unholy trinity, and then there's also an element of pathetic fallacy here, where you have these sort of angry, violent weather phenomena introduced. It's not sunshine and sweetness and happiness and warm breezes. It's thunder, it's lightning, it's rain. So there is a sense of unpredictability here, a sense of violence being established, a hint that perhaps a storm is brewing. Now that storm could be in the state of Scotland, and the ructions to the state and all the kickoffs that are coming. It could be a storm brewing inside Macbeth's head, and his mental state that's going to become increasingly turbulent. Either way, there's the sense that the pieces are in flux and things are changing. When you talk about the weather elements represented by the witches as well, I think you can refer to a sense of this overwhelming force that humans are subject to. They're victim to this force. You can't do anything about it, just like the weather and a thunderstorm. You just have to sort of sit there and suffer it. And in some sense, a gigantic storm like that can be a sort of catalyst, can bring about change, either a break in the air pressure or whatever, or a sense of things after it being damaged or transformed by the storm, much like the witches. So it's very, very important in terms of setting that tone, as well with the meter, the rhythm of it, something we'll perhaps return to slightly later, but very carefully chosen opening lines. At the end of that first example and this second example bookend the first scene, i.e. they are there at the start and at the end of the first scene. And this one of my favourite lines of the entire play. There's so much going on here in what seems to be initially, on the face of it, a very, very simple rhyming couplet. So fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. I'm going to try and show you how much meaning that you can draw out of this, and you can analyse and explain in an essay or in an exam question. Okay, so firstly, you've got this idea of duality, this two-ness being existing in one thing. So you've got two opposites that exist in the same thing at the same time, and they're binary opposites. So they're completely different. And the result of this is this kind of blurring of good and evil. The sense of you can't be certain which is which. And that leads to a sense of ambiguity. You can't be certain whether to trust your eyes or not. You can't be certain if what you think you know is what you think it is, or if it's something else. And this uncertainty is compounded by the fact that there's this sort of play on words that works on two levels. Obviously, you have these opposites, fair and foul, right? But they're opposites on a double level. So firstly, you have fair in terms of beauty, as in, my fair lady or whatever, and foul in terms of ugliness, like a foul smell or something. Then you have fair in the sense that means a sense of justice and right, and foul in the sense of an injustice or a wrong, like a foul in football or sports or something. Or as Banquo says later, I fear thou played most foully for it. So the opposites work on two levels of opposites. It's pretty amazing, I think. Then to develop from that, I think you can analyze some of the sounds, the use of cacophony here, which is harsh sounds. So you've got the fair is foul, foul is fair, that hover through the fog and filthy air. There's an anger to it. There's almost a violence to those sounds that they almost need to be spat out, shocking the audience right away from the start. And if you really want to develop that, and if you really want to try and stand out and trying to get one of the top grades, a 7, 8, 9, you could push it on to say that there's obviously alliteration. I think almost every candidate will be able to spot that, but you can describe it as fricative alliteration. Okay, so what's fricatives? Fricatives are the sounds that we make where we allow some air or some sound to come out gradually. So sounds like f, the F sound, v, s, when we control the air, so letting a small amount of air out. They're not quite the same as plosives like d or p or k, where or t, where the mouth shuts completely to stop air coming out, and then it sort of rushes out quickly. These are sort of ones that let a certain amount out. So they're fricatives. Fair is foul and foul is fair. You've got a sense of insecurity here in that you can't trust what you think you can trust. And insecurity because there's a threat of danger as well. Hover is a verb that suggests well, two things. One, it's hard to place. It's unclear. Something is hovering away. It's not on the ground. It's not flying properly. It's just sort of hovering there. But also suggests a degree of threat, a menace. A bird of prey will hover just prior to attacking its prey. And then you've got this inclusion of the idea of filth as well. Which adds this sense of things are not right, things are dirty in the air, in the atmosphere. And more pathetic fallacy. And now Shakespeare moves it on from the violence of the thunder, lightning, and the rain into the mystery and the insecurity of the fog. That you can't be certain who or what's going to come out of the fog. Whether it's going to be foe or a friend, or danger or salvation or whatever. So that it's also another sense you can't trust your eyes. They might be deceiving you, and this is picked up immediately in the next act. What bloody man is that? As the captain returns from the battlefield with his reports.
Pressure.